10.
Plan 9.
8.
7.
6 shots.
5.
Quattro.
We are the three. Amigos. 2 more mother humpers.
One ring to rule them all.
Let's rock!
All right. Well, good morning if you're in Asia here with me. Good early afternoon if you're on the west coast of North America. And good afternoon if you're in the east coast of North America. And I guess good evening if you're in Europe. Welcome to the second live stream here with Fermented Cinema. First off the bat, my camera's a little glitchy today, so we're just going to go with this handsome icon here. Second issue today is I'm doing this from my house, not a hotel like last week, and my kids are in bed, so if we suddenly go into please stand by, you know what happened. Okay, so, and of course, I'm not going to bury the lead here. Yesterday, I hit 500 subscribers. So I want to say big special thanks to everyone that's subbed to the channel and everyone that's given a share. A huge shout out to Stark of Iron. He's been really helpful in just kind of spreading the word of my brand. All right. So thank you very much, sir. I see we're at 2 people joining in right now. No problem. That means I'm not alone. So I'm happy. So today's film, in case you haven't seen the thumb there, is Event Horizon. This is a major film in my film history, I'll say, growing up. Thank you, Disney Sheepherder. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. So Event Horizon, this movie has become actually quite infamous recently, which is interesting because it really had a sputtering start, but it seems to have grown as each decade goes by with kind of obvious cult following. My own discovery of it was actually quite interesting. I discovered it really early on in 1998, so just the year after it was released. So it's released in 1997. And let's just say it was an interesting story. So I was 13 at the time, 12, 13. I'm born in 85. And burgeoning sci-fi lover, huge on Star Wars and Star Trek. And my dad was a huge, sci-fi guy as well. I think that's where I've gotten a lot of it from. Oh, yeah, no worry, Disney Sheepherder. Please have a safe journey to work. And so we went to the Blockbuster. Man, I miss Blockbuster. Before I ramble too much, I actually used to work at Blockbuster. That was my first job when I was 18. And I worked in the second busiest Blockbuster in all of Canada. So it was quite a fun job, especially on Saturday night where the line never ended. I missed the smell of Blockbuster. I missed that awful lighting. And I just missed just going through row after row and just looking at the covers. Nostalgia. Remember, or in Japanese, Natsukashi. So anyway, we go to the sci-fi aisle. I think at the time we'd seen all the big named releases. So we're going through. We pretty much cleaned out the sci-fi aisle by that time. And on the new release shelf, there was like just 2 copies of this really fascinating looking sci-fi. Event Horizon. And at the time, kind of a nerd, I already knew, that means like the edge of a black hole or whatnot. So I pick it up and totally expecting a somewhat cheesy, maybe more or less family-friendly sci-fi adventure scene, kind of like akin to Star Trek. We bring it home, get the popcorn ready, get the VCR fired up. Luckily, the tape was rewound. Someone was very kind to us. And pop her in, and literally from the first image, when the Paramount logo and that foreboding music starts, and the camera drifts up, and it goes into the stars, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm feeling something here. And then we go to the derelict ship, and you just have the naked captain of the ship just twirling around in space. Just zooms right in his mouth. He's got lacerations all over him. This might be trauma in the making. And sure enough, by the end of the night, especially after the visions of hell scene, here I am, absolutely traumatized, frightened as can be, but in love. Just absolutely in love with the film. And I had to watch it again the next day, almost piss myself again the next morning. And then eventually had to get my own copy, first on VHS, and then, of course, on DVD. And since then, it's been bliss ever since. And that's going to bring us to our Japanese word of the day. Dun, dun, dun. So this is teased here in the thumbnail. So, Japanese word of the day. So there we go. Today's word is bikkuri shimashita. So bikkuri shimashita, which means surprised. Oh my God, I was surprised. And actually, Stark of Iron called this yesterday. He knows my humor. So whenever something surprises you in Japanese, just yell out bikkuri shimashita. And that is exactly what Event Horizon did to me when I was so tender at 13. It surprised the hell out of me. So, Event Horizon is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Do not confuse that with Wes Anderson. They are very different directors. Paul W.S. Anderson, his name actually had a little bit of clout for a time. I guess his first big blockbuster was the Mortal Kombat movie, 1995. And then right after this, he had Soldier. And Soldier's a good flick, too. I recommend that. And then he got into the Resident Evil series, which is interesting. And I'm somewhat fond of the first entry. The second one was actually one of my first big dates, taking a girl to the movies. It's too bad both the date and the film were a letdown. So thank you, Paul W.S. Anderson. Then he got into the Death Race series, and he also did the first Alien vs. Predator, which is also an okay flick, but Event Horizon is definitely his standout feature. This is by far his best work. Second place I would give to Soldier. And then we come into the cast. And this film, great cast. Of course, we got, I'm going to try some dad jokes on this. We got Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Standing, Kathleen Quinlan, Joey Richardson. Those names aren't fun. Richard T-Bone. George Costanza would be jealous. Here we go. Jack Schnozgood. There we are. Nice name there. Jason Isaacs, Sean Petri Dish, and Peter Miraker, and Holy Chat. So, of course, the headliners are Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill. This was right before Lawrence Fishburne was in The Matrix, so it was quite the sci-fi year for him. And Sam Neill. All right. Sam Neill was, let's just say he was the key to some trauma for me there, but now he's also one of my favorite actors because first he was in Jurassic Park, which of course I love, but also frightened me as a child in the movie theater. Then there's this film where he's just deliciously evil by the end. Spoilers. And then he was in the Mouth of Madness, which is another great John Carpenter horror film, which also traumatized me, but I loved it. And also has that Lovecraftian feel, just like this film. And then he was in Daybreakers, which is another fantastic film that I'm going to do later on this live stream. Not today, of course. And so those movies all together just put him in the spot where it's like, if Sam Neill's in it, I'm probably going to have trauma, but I'm probably going to love it. And I almost think that should almost be like a box set trilogy, would be this film, Daybreakers, and In the Mouth of Madness. That would just be like the Sam Neill trauma set. It would be fantastic. There we go. I would definitely buy that set. And so let's get into the basic plot. I'm guessing that the two of you here, and hopefully the people watching this afterwards, if you've seen Event Horizon, of course you know the plot, but let's just do a quick run through for those who haven't. Basic story is the research vessel, the Event Horizon, goes missing in the distant future of 2040. Oh my God. We got some catching up to do. And then it reappears 7 years later in a decaying orbit around Neptune. So really fun way to start off the film. Search and rescue vessel is taken out to search for anyone that still survives and to see what happened. So pretty much a salvage mission. The main primary engineer of the ship, Dr. Weir, comes along with them. And once they reach the ship, there's like a power surge, which cripples the search and rescue vessel. So a classic, we're stranded on the ship scenario, and very claustrophobic feeling film. And pretty much from there, the ship is essentially alive, which again is a great premise. I love it. And it's slowly driving the crew insane. And then, of course, we discover what happened to the original crew, where they pretty much just had a sexual, disgusting S&M death party. And pretty much the ship opened up a wormhole, a gateway into like a dimension of like pure evil. You can interpret that as hell, or just as just a different dimension where some creature has like this immune system reaction that just wants to like destroy the inhabitants of the ship. Very fun movie. And rewatching it for this stream today, I actually noticed quite a lot of interesting stuff that I didn't notice before, or at least I didn't connect it before. One thing that's really fascinating is just how focused on the eye this film is. So, well, first of all, this here is The Drive. This thing alone gives like the feeling of an eye. And then from there, there's of course the eye gouging. There's lots of eye gouging in this film. And also just lots of zooms from the eye and zooms into the eye. So at the very start, you have the zoom out from Dr. Weir's eye as he's still on the space station on Earth. You have the zoom in on Miller's eye, Captain Miller's eye, Lawrence Fishburne, when he's being attacked by one of his memories, his painful memories. And then you have the missing eyes, obviously gouged eyes from Dr. Weir, Sam Neill's wife, who we find out committed suicide because he was working too much. Yeah, so lots of fascinating imagery there with the eye. And then, of course, I like how the ship has essentially been calling to Dr. Weir. So Sam Neill, Dr. Weir, he is the primary engineer, designer of the ship. And just, from the very start there with that zoom out from the eye, the ship is calling to him. And I love that. And it's just like this possession is like the seeds for this possession have already started because he has this trauma from his wife essentially committing suicide. We learn this later in the film because he was working too much on the ship. So he has so much now invested in this project. And it's just luring him there, and just his slow how he devolves into insanity throughout the film is actually really well done. Because I don't think he was like a bad person at all, like at heart in the film, but he just essentially gets possessed. Obsession becomes possession, essentially, and it's quite fascinating actually and well done. And I noticed that like the pacing of this film is fantastic. It's about an hour. It's 96 minutes long, which is a nice tight cut, which actually I appreciate. And Cannoli Sasquatch, hello, thank you for joining in. It's great to have you. And Cannoli Sasquatch is also another great channel. You gotta check him out. Always a lot of fun. I think on Mondays is his big movie reviews. So I don't know, where was I? Oh my goodness, I'm slipping into dementia here. Maybe I'm getting a little possessed. So yeah, his falling into madness is in the mouth of madness is just fantastically done, and the pacing is just lovely. And I realized it takes like an hour. I think like the first crew member doesn't die until an hour and 7 minutes into a film that's only an hour and 36 minutes long, including credits, of course. And I really like that because it just builds up so much until the final act. And the final act's boom, 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 boom. All the dominoes fall. Just really, really well done. All right. Production design is phenomenal. So, oh my goodness, I realized I didn't do the title crawl. Oh my God, I'm dropping the ball already. Well, before we get deeper into it, let's just have fun and let's watch the title crawl. All right, so there we go. Let's just pretend that happened before I started explaining the basic plot. So yeah, the production design in this film, it's, of course, a lot of people, a lot of sci-fi nerds know that the premise was essentially like a haunted castle or cathedral in space. Uh, Beautifully designed ship. Like, oh my God, I absolutely love that. And they nailed it. Again, lots of model work was done, and special effects hold up, besides some of the CG, hold up really, really, really well. So absolutely love the production design. It's just gorgeous. Inside the interior of the ship especially, and of course, the stellar drive here. Like, have you ever seen a more like foreboding room in your life? Like, oh my God. And this is like one of those things where like, if you start looking at like, what's the point of the spikes on the walls? It doesn't matter. It just the atmosphere it creates is just so strong and so unnerving that you don't mind that there's just a swirling room of blades, like a meat grinder, just walking into the core of this ship. You forgive all of that just because it works so well, and it hits the mood, the atmosphere so perfectly of this like horror in space. So absolutely love that. The music is it's good. It's a tiny bit dated now. You can definitely tell it comes from the 90s. It has that little bit of that Matrix vibe in the music, just on a slightly cheaper side, but it still services the film well. So definitely no complaint there. The costume design is amazing. I love the spacesuits in this. It has fantastic suits, and again, it hits that theme of kind of being a medieval space adventure in a, but yet still looking futuristic and modern. So, like, I salute the costume designing department there as well. And of course, there's some classic lines. Probably my favorite line is this one in the film.
We're leaving.
Like, that is just one of the funniest bits ever. They see the footage, they see this awful, everyone massacring each other. Most natural reaction you could ever have to seeing that on the ship. we're leaving. We're out of here. What's also interesting, though, is it has one of the best deaths ever. And that here will be when Smith dies. One of those great, like, you know you're going to be dead reactions. I think I've rewatched that scene probably 100 times because just opening up, I got the bomb. I know where it is. And you got like 5 seconds left, and you know there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. You're dead. And that's probably how I'd react to. Just give a little whimper and boom. And of course, that's actually where we transit. That shot there is the transition from the end of the second act into the third act, where there is no more Lewis and Clark. There is no more escape vessel, and they are essentially stuck, marooned on the ship, the surviving crew members. Fantastic stuff. Unfortunately, the post-production of this film was highly rushed. It does show a little bit in the sound effect department. There are some clunky sounds, some like bing, boom, boom. But it doesn't bother me that much. And to be honest, with the time they had, it seems like they did a pretty good job. Because apparently, I think it had something to do with the release of Titanic, off the top of my head. Something to do with working around the schedule, because Titanic was pushed back to the winter. Yes, I think this had to fill a summer slot. So they were like literally bumped up like 4 or 5 months in release schedule. So that, of course, throws a huge wrench into your production. And what's interesting, unfortunately, is it had a budget of $60 million. So this was a decently budgeted film for the late 90s. And it only made $42 million. And this was a worldwide box office pull. So definitely not what the studio was hoping for. But since then, it has definitely gained a massive cult following. But what has always hurt me, and it's hitting my heart right now, is the reviews for this. This film was completely slaughtered. It was taken, let's just say, it was taken through the meat grinder on the reviews. I remember I think there's a really famous one by Roger Ebert. You should read his review on it. He enjoyed the first 20 minutes, but then he absolutely hates the film. But of course, he's had some bizarre takes on a lot of sci-fi films. I think it still stands at only 34% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is an absolute shame. It got like D minuses. It got like 1 stars. I've never, ever been able to figure out why. I can see the gore and just the mean tone of the film in the second half being off-putting to some. But you think people would still given it like a 4 or a 5 just for the production value alone and the brilliant set designs and costume work and good performances too. Sam Neill, Lawrence Fishburne, they do a wonderful job in this. Of course, both of them. Don't think I've ever seen a performance that I don't like from those guys. Lawrence Fishburne, maybe in the new under the new Supermans. Well, he was in them for like 5 minutes, but that wasn't his best work. But yeah, since then, there has been a little bit of a correction being made. I have seen some reviewers come back to it now and give it far more positive reactions than their original reactions back in the late 90s. So at least there has been some reconciliation here that the film deserves. But yet it's still, those reviews are far, far, far too low for this film. What's also interesting here is this has a direct connection with Interstellar. And that is the explaining what a wormhole is scene. First of all, both with this film and Interstellar, I have a couple gripes. That is, if you are working in this industry, if you are someone who travels through space, you should have at least a preliminary knowledge of what a wormhole is. just seeing how common it is, even just among sci-fi nerds on Star Trek, whatnot. You should know that a wormhole is something that bends space and time, so two distant locations connect at once. But of course, we have to spell that out for the audience, and there really seems to be some similarities in Interstellar between the two.
It's folds.
So they say you want to go from here.
Point A and point B
there.
coexist in the
It's too
same
far.
space and time.
So a wormhole bends space
spacecraft
like this. So you can
Passes
take a
through the
shortcut
gateway.
through.
Space
Higher
returns
dimension.
to normal.
All right, let's watch that one more time. Now, look closely here because you might miss it. Oh my God.
It's folds.
So they say you want to go from here.
Point A and point B
there.
coexist in the
It's too
same
far.
space and time.
So a wormhole bends space
spacecraft
like this. So you can
Passes
take a
through the
shortcut
gateway.
through.
Space
Higher
returns
dimension.
to normal.
Did you catch that? It's like the exact same scene. But I think that Event Horizon was also inspired in this scene. Now, this is a foggy memory of mine. I'm not sure if it was from Cosmos with Carl Sagan or if it was maybe like a PBS Nova special. But I remember seeing an actual scientist on a show talking about wormholes using a pencil through paper to explain it. So it could be from an actual demonstration that took place before Event Horizon came, and then her Event Horizon used it, and then maybe Interstellar didn't know Event Horizon used it, or they're paying homage to Event Horizon since they're both films about wormholes, essentially. So I just remember when I was in the theater watching Interstellar, I was like, oh my God, I pretty much did the name. I know that scene. And I was like, damn it, they took that from freaking Event Horizon. But that's just for all the normies in the audience who don't know what a wormhole is, but the characters really, really, really should. They're pretty much doing the number 2 role in a Star Trek there, who should really know what all these theories are. All right, now it's time to get into one of the biggest legends about this film, and that is the 130-minute long original cut. Now, this is like, it's confirmed, but it's still like a huge like legend among sci-fi nerds in the sci-fi community. Is the original cut of Event Horizon was 130 minutes long, and it was jam-packed with gore. There is an extended hell sequence at the end, which apparently made some people in the test audience want to throw up. It's pretty disgusting. They hired real amputees, and they also hired real porn stars for some of the sexual acts that were depicted. My guess is that if it was released in the 130-minute long original extended cut, it definitely would have been an NC-17 film and not the R it was given. So it was cut down all the way to 96 minutes. And then after the film had a really popular DVD release, VHS DVD release. So remember, we're talking about the late 90s, early 2000s. VHS was still around. The studio got interested in reassembling that cut and making an official director's cut. And Paul W. Sanderson was also on board. But unfortunately, the footage was either destroyed or was stored improperly. So it just couldn't be used. It just degraded, and they never went anywhere with it. A few cut scenes have survived in very, very low quality. I'm sure you can watch them on YouTube. I'm sure you can. There are also the special features on some of the newer releases. There's the one such as Dr. Weir at the beginning of the film having kind of like a conference meeting before he ventures out with the team on the Lewis and Clark to salvage the ship. And there's also some more expanded backstories about the crew members on the ship itself. That's something I would love to see one day, but unfortunately that is lost media. And although, to be honest, as I've gotten older, I don't think I need too much more gore. I think the gore in this film already speaks for itself. That's enough. And talking about gore, I think it's time that we should remember those that we lost on the event horizon in the future. So let us stay silent for a minute as we remember those poor souls. Ah, man, he's like the cat that just keeps coming back. Can't get rid of that Dr. Weir. The ending there, it's fun. Leaves a little stinger at the end. And then you can just imagine what happens next there. All right, well, now it's time for some nitpicks. Yay. To the two people still watching there, is there anything in this film that you would fix if you were in charge? I got a couple here myself. I'm curious to know, is there anything that in particular that bothers you? Is there anything that you noticed just ain't quite right? For me, now this is a personal nitpick. This happens a lot. This isn't just an Event Horizon thing, but is the time frame. So the film takes place in 2047. And I know in 1997, that seemed like an awfully long time away, 50 years in the future. But to be honest, not enough. See where we are at 2024, and we are just trying to go back to the moon again. They keep saying in a couple of years, every couple of years. I really don't see us creating wormholes in deep space in only about 20 years from now, because the ship itself was launched in 2040. So yeah, and I don't see us getting there in 16 years. So that's always been a pet peeve of mine, is the setting the distant future too close to the present. Because I just feel like that ages your film too fast. I actually always prefer films that say maybe like 50 years from now. Because at least from now, you have a much more of a window where that 50 years can still stay 50 years in the future from now. I know it, or at least go into like the 2080s or the 2090s. So you give your film a good 40 or 50 years where the future can still feel like the distant future. So big nitpick there for me, but a little anal. Then there's going to be a reoccurring thing on here is the CGI. There's definitely some dated late 1990s CGI. It's not the worst. For example, such as the coolant that's floating around looks half decent, but there are some things. It's one of the opening shots there. You got the water bottle floating around with the watch, and that definitely comes off quite fake. And then also with the water bottle, it's interesting is the ship is supposed to be in a deep freeze, like a hard deep freeze, to the point where when they reactivate the gravity, bodies floating just shatter on the ground. But as that water bottle at one of the opening shots floats by the camera, you can hear water sloshing around inside. So, what is it? Little nitpick there. And then, of course, there are some scientific questions to be asked. It says that it's in a decaying orbit around Neptune, but it's in the atmosphere. And I'm sorry, but atmospheric drag would take that ship down probably almost instantly. That's a very, very minor scientific nitpick, because I do understand that having it kind of on the edge of the atmosphere there adds a lot to the atmosphere. They can add like the lightning and thunder sound effects, which adds to the castle and space feel. So that one, I'll give that one a pass. How would I rate this film? Well, I'd rate this film, break it down in 3 acts. The first act, obviously from the opening scene until the Lewis and Clark is damaged, 9 out of 10. Wonderful. Second act, from when the Lewis Clark is damaged to when the Lewis and Clark is destroyed. I would actually say that's a 10 out of 10. I love that. I love the building tension, and I love the hallucinations, and I just love the creeping terror. It has a very Shining feel to it. And there's obviously some direct references to The Shining, such as the blood in that green tube that shatters out, very reminiscent of the elevators opening up in the hotel. The third act, it's fun. It has some great kills, but it does start, the pacing is a little too fast, and it gets a little bit of that, like, we want to wrap this up type of feel. And I do feel it loses a little bit of the energy with an 8 out of 10. Still good, but I give the third act an 8 out of 10. It's not perfect. Overall, 9 out of 10 film. Fantastic. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. All right. So is there anything else to say about Event Horizon before we move on to today's big surprise? I'll give a second here if anyone wants to add a chat or not. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, well, bikuri shimashita. Today's big surprise is Everyone Loves Mel. Oh my God. Have you seen this film? Well, this came out a year after Event Horizon, and there's many surprises in store here. So let's have fun, and let's watch the trailer for Everyone Loves Mel.
Get ready to believe.
I can believe this.
I don't believe this.
A couple of kids who didn't believe in legends
Ernest
Another
Borgnine.
A bogus legend I made.
don't believe their eyes.
I don't believe someone made this film.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna have to let you boys in on a
At
little
least they're
secret.
getting good use of that prop.
North by Northwest Entertainment presents a film about an unlikely hero.
Is it me? Oh, okay, that was wonderful.
A lot of hunters that give their right arm to capture Mel.
There he is.
Especially Bailey Sue.
This
Behave yourself.
But is the legend about to be
definitely is
revealed?
not a paint-by-numbers plot.
He's gone too far this time.
Of an amazing special
A daring
animal in the
rescue.
countryside.
Security! Come on!
To
And
save
there's
their
an evil businessman who wants to take advantage of the creature. I've never seen this story before. Lots of people falling safely into the water. That looks like the scene from Jurassic World when everyone's going nuts. Careful, don't grab that baby.
An unforgettable journey
Marvelous effects.
and a little touch of magic.
Wonderful shot. That's the shot that's
Seeing
only on the
is
film.
believing.
Well, now, if you're not interested by that, I don't know what will. So, if you want to be surprised, there's some interesting trivia about Mel. And the director of the film goes by the name of Joey Travolta. And also in the film, there's a guest appearance by Ellen Travolta. Travolta. Heard those names before. They are the siblings of John Travolta. So let's just say talent isn't evenly distributed in that family. I no idea if this was a passion project of Joey Travolta. He really wanted to tell this amazing story about the giant turtle named Mel. But you can really see his passion come out in the climax of the film here. you can see, no expenses were spared in the special effects. And we're going to have a very classic waterfall scene. Now, what's interesting is this is the climax of the film, and we just saw the trailer, and the trailer clearly shows the turtle flying. And apparently, that's not known until this scene here at the very end of the film. So essentially, the trailer ruins the whole ending of the film. Well, to be honest, the ending ruins itself. Oh my god, please die. Flying. In a fantastic shot there.
I knew it all the time. I knew he could fly.
Curtis Borgnine giving his best. Completely different landscape there. That's like a dry desert. And we're back into a forest. And yes, I love that shot. You know, I really do miss practical effects like this.
This really just happened.
Yeah, but Roger, on our next date, can we go to dinner and a movie instead?
Oh, there we go. There we go. You got to end with a little comedy after a heart-pounding scene like that. So that was the climax. I'm sorry, I spoiled it. Spoiled it for everyone. That was the climax of Mel. Everyone loves Mel. So everyone loves Raymond, and everyone also loves Mel. Fantastic film. Also highly recommended for bad movie night. I'm a bit of a sucker. For the really terrible family movies, which there's a glut of. I think if anyone's ever seen anything, it's called To Capture a Yeti, is another good one. If you're just into that schlock of the children befriend some endangered or special animal, they're great. They're great for lampooning. So definitely recommend you get a couple beers, maybe a little weed if you want, and just enjoy Mel. And what sold me on Mel, though, was definitely this. Just that face. Like, how can you not love that face? Come on. Just great reaction. I'm sure the actor isn't embarrassed at all these days. I think that's how I'd react if I was on a flying turtle, by the way. So, that's a good movie pair right there. If you want to be surprised, Bikurishimashita, I definitely recommend a pairing of Event Horizon and Everyone Loves Mel. They just go together so well. Get your friends together and have a little watch party. All right. Well, seems that the chat's a little quiet today. No worries there. Hopefully for those that tuned in, I hope you enjoyed. I'm getting close to the hour where my children might burst through the door and interrupt this. So with that, I think I'm going to sign off for today. A little bit of a short stream, but sometimes short and sweet is good. If you've never seen Event Horizon, please watch it. If you've seen it, please watch it again. Fantastic film, and hopefully as the years continue to go by, some more movie critics will rewatch it and give it a much better the review it deserves, a much higher recommendation. And also, if you have the chance, Everyone Loves Mel for free on YouTube. Just give it the old search and enjoy. All right, sayonara, and have a good day.